This video was brought to you by the TLDR store, where we have countries with shoes pin badges for every EU country, including the Czech Republic. Get 10% off any order by using code CZECH. On Sunday, the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, an organisation covering hundreds, if not thousands of investigative journalists worldwide, released the Pandora Papers, in what's being called the largest investigation in journalism history. The consortium obtained more than 11.9 million confidential files, analysed by over 600 journalists from 150 news outlets. These files contained in acute detail the financial secrets of a huge number of key figures. But for one individual in particular, the release of the Pandora Papers could spell the beginning of the end. Andrej Babiš, the Czech Prime Minister. With elections in the Czech Republic just round the corner, some of these revelations may end up ousting him from office. So in this video, we'll take a deeper look into the Pandora Papers, what exactly it shows about Babis's dealings, and what the papers could mean for the Czech election. Leaks about financial secrets and offshore dealings are nothing new, not even for the ICIJ. In 2016, they led an investigation into leaked documents from the now dissolved Panamanian law and corporate service provider Mossack Fonseca. That investigation, dubbed the Panama Papers, covered some 11.5 million documents and named several high-profile politicians and their families, from Italy's Silvio Berlusconi to Australia's Malcolm Turnbull to the father of former British Prime Minister David Cameron. Then in 2017, the ICIJ led another investigation, this time into leaked documents from offshore law firm Appleby and corporate services provider Istra. That investigation, dubbed the Paradise Papers, covered 13.4 million documents, but was substantially less damaging to the political elite. What's come out now, though, is even more substantial than those two prior leaks. The Pandora Papers comprise 11.9 million documents from 14 separate offshore service providers, many of which detail the legal arrangements and structures of offshore companies registered in tax havens such as the British Virgin Islands or Panama. By registering companies abroad, the identity of the person who actually owns the company and its assets, known formally as the beneficial owner, can be hidden. But with this leak, the Pandora Papers allege that Andrej Babiš, the Czech Prime Minister, used a convoluted offshore structure to finance the purchase of a £13 million mansion in the south of France. According to Guardian, in 2019, Babis, who had at the time not yet entered politics, funneled €15 million through a number of overseas firms in the form of secret loans. Specifically, Babis gave Blakely Finance Limited, based in the British Virgin Islands, the $15 million. Blakely Finance then lent that money to Boyne Holding LLC, a company which he'd set up in Washington. That company then immediately lent it to SCP Bigod in Monaco. You guessed it, another company set up by Babis. In fact, all three companies were allegedly established using the same Panamanian law firm. Regardless, SCP subsequently purchased a chateau and its neighbouring villa near the Côte d'Azur. It has to be stressed, though, that the transfer of monies overseas itself, or using companies based offshore to purchase property, is not in and of itself illegal. The issue at hand is one of transparency, or specifically, a lack of it. And when you found a party with the explicit aim of fighting corruption and other ills in the political system, not being transparent and establishing a complex ownership structure for a €15 million villa, well, it's not a good look. When Babis entered Parliament, he was supposed to have declared his offshore property interests, something that Panorama suggests he didn't do. In any case, Babis refused to talk to a BBC camera crew about the matter and didn't respond to the Guardian's request for comment. When the papers were made public late Sunday, Babis took to Twitter saying, "I have never done anything illegal or wrong, but does not prevent them from trying to denigrate me again and influence the Czech parliamentary elections." In a TV debate, Babis went further, stating, "It is not international, it's our mafia," and continuing to insist that everything was legal. And to reiterate, that last part is true. His alleged actions aren't illegal. But this isn't even the first scandal or allegation to be levied against Babis. Around 2018-2019, Babis became embroiled in the Stork's Nest scandal. Back in 2016, a subsidiary of Agrofert, the huge conglomerate founded by Babis, purchased a rundown farm near Prague, Stork's Nest. In 2018, Stork's Nest applied for a European subsidy to fund its development. The issue being that subsidy was intended for small businesses. And, well, a business with nearly 33,000 employees isn't very small, is it? At the time, Stork's Nest had an undisclosed ownership, which allowed it to receive the subsidy. But it's not a good look. So in 2016, when Babis revealed Stork's Nest was owned by his children and brother-in-law, given the potential conflict of interest, both the Czech police and the EU's anti-fraud office opened investigations. Olaf quickly concluded that there were indeed irregularities in the subsidies given, causing the Czech prosecutor's office to open a subsidy fraud case against the Prime Minister in April 2019. The case was initially dropped in September 2019, but then later reopened after a leaked audit report from the European Commission continued to find conflicts of interest with Babiš and his corporate empire. That report alleged that Babis was simultaneously the owner of Agrofert, the company that received 82 million euros in EU subsidies, while simultaneously being at the EU negotiating table for said subsidies. The report stated that as a result of the direct and indirect influence that Babis had over the trust funds, all grants awarded to Agrofert since February of 2017 violated conflict of interest legislation. And all of this has come in spite of Lex Babis. In 2017, an amendment was passed specifically to prevent conflicts of interest that allowed Babis to put his firms and corporate interests into trust funds. The issue being that the likes of Transparency International argued that Babis remained the founder and 100% end user of benefits of the trust funds, i.e., in their eyes, he just moved the conflict of interest problem up the chain. The Stork's Nest scandal and the subsequent conflict of interest debacle led to the Czech Republic's largest protest since 1989, with 250,000 people protesting and calling for his resignation. Fast forward a few years, and in August of this year, the European Commission discussed suspending payments of EU subsidies to the Czech Republic due to the same suspected conflicts of interest. In a letter to the Czech government, the Commission urged the government to adopt the audit's recommendations to further improve the manage and control systems in place, as to ensure that no further grants are awarded that give rise to conflicts of interest, with the spokesperson further confirming that the Commission will interrupt any further payment claims to the companies in question until and unless the matter is resolved. The timing for Babis couldn't be much worse though. The Czech Republic will hold a parliamentary election this weekend, and it's safe to say that the opposition parties are working hard to capitalise on these revelations. A Pirate Party MEP talking to The Independent stated that the Pandora Papers are why Andrej Babiš was never supportive of efforts to fight for transparency and against corruption and tax evasion. Certainly a damning blow just days before the election. But what do you think? Will the Pandora Papers bring down Babis? Should we make more videos on the Pandora Papers revelations? And do you think that more is going to be released in the coming days? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Like I said at the start, you can also support TLDR by checking out the TLDR store. There we have a whole bunch of countries with shoes pin badges, including, of course, the Czech Republic. You can get 10% off everything in the store using code CZECH. So be sure to support your country, your favourite countries, or even just the countries you visited by picking up our badges and also supporting TLDR at the same time. Thanks for your support. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified every time we release a new video. Special thanks to our Patreon backers who make videos like this one possible. And if you want to see your name at the end of videos, then you too can back us on Patreon. The link to that is in the description.